Preparing video stream. Hi, everyone, and welcome. My name is Michael Wolf, and welcome to the COVID-19 Virtual Strategy Summit for Food and Restaurants. I'm the publisher of The Spoon. Like many of you, over the past 2 weeks, our lives have completely changed, and we've been wondering what we can do to help our community out and gather resources and get people to have conversations. And so we decided to put this COVID-19 Virtual Strategy Summit together. And I'm really excited to have with me on today's session the great Sara Roversi in the first session. I've been watching the comments and seeing all the fans of Sara Roversi already commenting in. So we're really excited. But before we get going, I want to do a quick presentation to basically show my to talk a little bit about what we're going to be talking about today. Real quickly, here's the agenda. So we're going to start basically talking with Sara, and then we're going to have conversations throughout the day with experts, including restaurant operators, legal experts, historians from Yale on what the impact of food culture will be. A great bunch of speakers throughout the day to help you, if you're a restaurant operator, if you're within the food ecosystem, to maybe come up with some ideas or find some resources to either pivot or help you build your business in these trying times. Before we get going, though, I just want to do a little bit of housekeeping. One thing you should note is you can actually see this agenda from within the Crowdcast window. This is a view of what happens when you click down from the top. There's actually a schedule. I found it kind of hard to find, so I thought I would just show everyone what it looks like. You just click at the top there. You can see the schedule, and you actually can go to different sessions. You can actually ask questions in different sessions before they actually start. If you missed a session, you could go back and watch it. So for example, if we're having a session in the afternoon, you could go back and watch session one. But I encourage you to go along as we go today. If you're just watching, we will take you from session to session, and it will automatically switch from session to session. So before we get going, I just want to do a quick bit of housekeeping. As I said, you can watch sessions in the archive. I encourage you to ask questions. As you can see, it's a very social platform. People are already saying hi. I encourage you to ask questions in case you have one for the speakers. We also ask you to be respectful in the comments. We have kind of a no jerk rule. So if you can, just please be polite. And this is the first time we've ever used Crowdcast. I love the platform, but we're still kind of getting used to it. We put this summit together in 2 weeks, so just be patient with us and help enjoy it. And we appreciate you learning with us. Real quick, I just want to go over a quick couple slides to kind of set the table. This is from a survey from Technomic, which they did just in the last week or so, that showed 1/3 of restaurants already in the U.S. have added curbside delivery. 1 in 5 have actually added delivery. These are for restaurants that never had either of these. So as you can see, in the world of coronavirus, in the world of COVID-19, people are already trying to adapt their business and trying to do it quickly. But it's not always easy. This is an article from Eater from last week that with the headline title, Coronavirus Delivery Pivot is Already Coming to an End. And it talked about chefs and restaurants struggling with this pivot, trying to come up with digital presence models, with digital delivery models, with curbside delivery. And one of the main considerations is the health of their workers. So as you can see, it's a very complicated topic. There's lots of things you have to consider if you're running a business, if you're running a restaurant. This is another chart from Technomic from recent forecast. As you can see, the restaurant industry, the food service industry was plugging along fairly nicely, going from 5 to 10% or so year-over-year growth. And what we're forecasting for 2020 is basically at least a 10% drop. I imagine it could be bigger from this. As you see, most restaurants across the world, or many restaurants across the world, are having stay-at-home orders affecting their business. They're only allowed to do delivery. They're only allowed to do pickup, and it's completely changed and impacted their business. So as you can see, the overall forecast for the industry is down significantly. But like many of you, things are changing at home. This is from a data point from NPD. They did a tracking survey just on the week of March 21st. And what they saw that week is bread makers are up 800% year over year on that week. people are basically cooking at home. They're trying to figure out how to make food at home. If they can't go out to restaurants, if they can't go out to their friend's house, they're figuring out how to make this food for home many times for the first time. And so we're tracking this as well. We're wondering what this means overall for the food culture and for the world as people try to figure out how to make food at home. We're also seeing a big impact on food waste. We're having Dana Gunders from Refed talk later. I'm sure Sara Roversi has some thoughts on this. But what happens when you bring the supply chain to a complete standstill? What happens when you have restaurants who have all this food in their inventory in the fridges and they just can't get it out there? It's a big and huge conversation. It's a big impact. We're going to talk about that as well. Before we get going and before we talk to Sara, I just want to thank our sponsors to help make this possible and make this virtual summit possible for free. They helped underwrite the cost of the platform, and we want to thank Kitchen United and we want to thank Lunchbox, both of whom are very generous in helping us bring this to you. So that's really it. Before I get talking to Sara, I just want to read this quote from Chef Marcus Samuelson, which I thought was poignant and really kind of pointed to the conversation that we want to have today. Where restaurants go away, so goes all small businesses. What's going to happen to the barbershop? What's going to happen to the deli around the corner? So we really don't fight just for restaurants. It's for all small businesses. And I think that's part of the conversation we have today. I think, and this applies to the broader food ecosystem. Food is tied to everything in society. And when we have something like a pandemic like this, it really impacts everything. Food is sustenance. Food is such a big part of our lives. And so that's what we want to talk about today. So I want to welcome Sara Roversi on screen to me. How you doing, Sara?
Ciao, Michael.
As I was saying, like, you have so many fans. I was just watching the comments, and man, I think half of the people here are just
so many friends, not so many fans.
So many friends who love what you do and want to hear what you have to say. I've always been inspired by the work you do. I'm always amazed by how much you get done and the community you've built. You're one of the first people I thought of when we thought about putting this summit together. And I thought you could maybe share some thoughts to really kind of set the table and get the ball rolling. So that's really what I want to do today. So why don't you do that? And then after that, we can maybe have a little bit of a conversation and take questions from some of your friends in the audience.
Okay, more than welcome. So I'm going to share my screen. Here we are. So I'm really glad to be here. It seems to be a kind of a reunion. I see friends and fellows from Bangalore, from Parma, from Berlin, from many parts of the world. So, of course, as you all know, in Italy, probably we have been not at the first forefront of this world crisis, but for sure we have been hit so strongly, probably the first country in the Western world. And of course, working in food, we have been thinking and understanding since the beginning how deep the connection between the crisis we are facing and the fact that we are now all forced to reconnect with our essential needs. So, of course, if we think about food, I want to just jump into a wave of images that can really let us understand which are the endless values of food. Because food, of course, is life, but is also our energy, is nourishment, is love. It's family. Now more than ever, we understand the value of food and how food is the easiest connection to celebrate care and demonstrate care to people we love. Food is a celebration, and we're missing so much this kind of opportunity of mentality, of celebrating positive things in life with friends, relatives. Food is experiences, is inclusion. Food is community. Food is representing our traditions, culture, symbols, identity. Food is ritual. We have rituals in every religion, in every culture. Food is strictly connected with all the languages we all speak. Food represents our values. And so in these years, we have been all talking about the endless question, how much we're going to feed the 10 billion people, as well as we have been thinking and talking about reshaping food system, rethinking food system. We know how much food is responsible for our health, and of course, also as our choices, our food choices have an impact on the environment. So in these years, after 2015, thanks to the SDGs and the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, of course, we have been starting thinking and investigating how might we change the food system, making it more inclusive, sustainable, accessible for all. And we have been thinking also how much we're going to feed the 10 billion people by 2050, but without wondering many other questions that now are emerging every single day. So in these days, of course, the virus has been resetting our brain, our mindset, our daily habits. And I think that starting from the map and the compass of our Future Food Institute, we started really investigating more on how this relationship between people, digital transformation, and culture is really not only disruptive, but also as which is the big chance we have now to change the rules of the game and redesign our relationship with the environment, how we're producing food, which is the topic of access to food, and not only food safety and food security, but also talking about food sovereignty. Where are we producing food? Where the value is generated? The topic of nourishment and seeing also in these days how food is really affecting on our body. The topic of lifestyle now is, of course, exponentially changing in these days. And the topic of awareness, the information, the fake news that are now sometimes influencing our way of buying food or nourishing our body. So in these days, more than anything else, our eating lifestyle has been disrupted. You have been showing some numbers before. Of course, we all have seen what happened in China for, of course, watching and seeing what we see here every single day. The millions of people that now are out of work, the thousands of restaurants shut down, and also which has been the impact on the entire touristic sector and the big sector of the canteens and schools, canteen, big service operators, and so on. But if at the beginning the big effect that we were counting was on the restaurants, now in the last 2 weeks we started really understanding which has been and which is the impact on the entire food chain. And we're starting understanding how important are farmers and how much we now have to be very focused also on caring about them, because we are facing the risk of wasting tons of products that takes months or years to grow, that product that takes a lot of water and energy to grow, and so on. And of course, in these days, we are also seeing how from the farms and from the artisanal company, how the cooperatives are organizing themselves. And you see stuff like that it's a pretty strong message, saying that maybe we have very valuable products that now probably are going to be turned in something else, of course, to avoid waste. But anyway, valuable product that cannot be exported and cannot be delivered or tasted in the proper way. So this forced reset, of course, has been helping us also to see which are the priorities and start to not only think about the fact of procuring food, but also setting say, a kind of a new kind of pyramid. We all admire the Maslow pyramid, but in these days, if I see how we were all reacting, the first thing that happens, that you have seen in every country, of course, has been the fact that everyone is going to the grocery store trying to buy all the canned food and all the long shelf, of course, the long-term products and so on. And this has been the effect in the first week. But now we are understanding that we can also eat much more fresh food. And we see that we can take care also of the quality of the food we're eating. The things that we're seeing is that there are many startups that are now inventing a new service to provide food, to deliver food, and also to deliver food in a very safety way. Zero-touch deliveries and new technologies that allows also to farmers to deliver directly to the consumers. But last but not least, we started understanding that we have not only to talk about food security, about the food safety, but after 3 weeks, we started wondering where this food is coming from. Can we provide food to the entire country? Is this the case? We're going to starve in the next months. So this, I think, is one of the big questions that we now have to be focused on if we have to rethink really, like starting from a blank sheet of paper and really thinking about the big disorder that there is in the standard food systems. So if we think about food and where we source our food, of course, in these days, I've been thinking so much about technology and how technology actually can help us to provide food also in hyper-urbanized centers. And if we think that in the next decades, the 70% of the world is going to live in the 2% of the world, so just in very, very big cities. There's someone that is telling me to take away my earphones.
Hey, Sarah, we can't hear you. Hey, Sarah, I don't know if you can hear me, but hey, everyone, this is Mike. Can you put back your microphone because we can't hear you right now? And Sarah, can you go over and enable your audio? When you mouse over your. Well, guys, we're trying to figure out Sarah's audio problems. Let's see if we can get her enabled here real quick. So, Sarah, can you hear me, Sarah? And when you mouse over your face, can you see the mic? And see if you could turn that on. Well, guys, I think when she took her mic off, her earphones, I think we lost her audio. It looks like we also have a Wi-Fi issue. So, oh, there we are. Sarah,
Finally,
I can hear you now.
I couldn't. I don't know why.
That's okay.
Okay, I'm here. I'm back.
Well, everyone, we're listening, and we're learning this platform, so we appreciate everyone being patient with us. This is our first time doing this. So, Sarah, if you,
I'm so sorry.
yeah, no problem. I think so what was happening when you're presenting is there's a little bit of an audio issue. So, I think
Yeah.
why don't you and I just have a conversation and talk a little bit about what's going on and what you're seeing out there, and just have a
Yeah.
little bit of fireside chat. If
I can share
Ash,
that
yeah,
because maybe this is interesting thing. We just run this survey, and it's pretty interesting to see how habits are changing. And we have this constant focus on how we're changing really the way we're eating, the way we're mind, and also overall the way we're wasting. And this is pretty interesting because we are seeing that actually this post reset is teaching us something that we already
yeah.
knew before. But we are
Sarah,
learning by.
Sarah, what I would say, I think what's happening is the presentation is for some reason taking up a lot of the bandwidth. So I would suggest maybe you and I just have a quick chat. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So I think what happens is for some reason the presentation always is kind of overtaking it. But one of the things I think about when I think about you is you not only are someone who's building an ecosystem for food innovation, you also are a restaurant operator and you have employees who are on the front lines. And I think one of the struggles you must have had is not only like, okay, what happens to with the Future Food Institute, but what is happening with my restaurant employees? Can you talk a little bit about that? What was happening in your mind just like a month ago, 2 months ago, as all this was starting to happen?
So of course, every restaurant is down, and just two of them now are delivering, but of course not at the same pace as the normal and the standard service. And we are now starting to rethink everything, how the restaurant business is going to look like in the next phase 2 and phase 3, because those phases are not going to take a week, not even a month, probably years. So really rethinking how our work is going to look like, how you can manage a dinner with social distance, how you can manage a table where you have your colleague 2 meters from you.
And part of it, you talk about this idea of a reset. I think you're right in that we're going to see a reset of the broader food system. We're seeing a reset of the world in a way. And I think the food system has been hit particularly hard because the first thing people think about, obviously, is when something like this strikes is like, how do I feed my family? But also like we're seeing all these restaurants close because it is, they do become like these close contact, like contagion hotspots. Like so at least in my state, I know in Italy there was mandatory closures, and we're seeing that everywhere. So I can't help but wonder what happens to restaurants like 6 months from now, a year from now. It doesn't seem like it'll be a quick recovery, even when we get this contained, even if there's a vaccine. But also, I think there might be some things that come out of this down the road, like a reinvented restaurant. So talk about what you think can happen like a year from now in the restaurant world and the broader food world, and then maybe longer term, like what maybe some good that could come out of this.
Yeah, there are so many uncertainty and things are changing, evolving every single day that is not easy to make predictions. But for sure, what we see is that things need to be balanced. Now we are facing a situation in which probably 100,000 of people are going to lose their job in restaurants, while in the farm we need probably 1 million people, because without immigrants we cannot harvest, and then farmers are struggling. So in some way, we need to reshape this system, because it makes no sense that there are industries flying foods from all over the world, while maybe we have food here that goes wasted. So now the system has so many things that makes no sense, that of course have been taken thanks to decisions of years after years and so on. But now probably we have the opportunity really to reset this system and redistribute the value within the chain, create shared value.
What I've also been thinking a lot about is how it's made us realize how valuable each part of the food ecosystem is and make us appreciate certain aspects of that. I mean, here in the US, it's a fairly politicized conversation around migrant workers, but now we're seeing these migrant workers as like absolutely necessary to feed us, and they're becoming like absolute necessity. So you're seeing positions change instantly. And so when crisis hits, it makes us reassess our values, it makes us have a different lens on things. And so I think this different lens on the world and maybe particular aspects of the food ecosystem could help maybe be beneficial long term. But in the crisis and the fog of war, it's challenging to see that.
Of course, that's for sure. I think I just share with you what we are feeling. Every single week, we're facing a different mood. The first week was fear, and we're all scared and so on. Now, week after week, we're getting a little bit tired because we're suffering. The numbers growing are huge, and so you start in a way to be connected also personally with what is happening out there. Everyone in every family, someone that have been affected by that. So there is a kind of a humanitarian crisis that we are facing also, while we have to save our businesses. We never faced something like that in our life. So it's tough because sometimes you have to take decisions and you think you're taking decisions to save business, but in some way you need also to manage the urgency and be ready to plan for the future and take the right decision to start with the right pace for the future, as it's not easy.
Agreed.
Because it needs to be done in a collaborative way. In this week, I've been debating still with people that sees food as silos. I compete for my chain. I compete for milk. I don't care about you that you are in wheat. No, we have to work together because we are all pieces of a network. And like people that were complaining with me because I wrote something related to food in a broader sense and talking about the impact of the entire ecosystem. And they were saying, no, agri-food is just the agriculture. You cannot include restaurants. No, we need to talk of all the pieces and we need to take decision and act together. Because if not, we won't solve this huge chaos.
That's a great point. So I think some of the things you're saying is like we're interconnected and we really need to work together, kind of hold hands as a broader ecosystem to make this all work. Before we go, before we keep talking, I want to. There's a great recommendation from Francesco. We're having a little bit of audio issues. If people can change the resolution down at the lower left hand, the little gear in the lower left hand from 720 to 360, that should help with their audio. But let's keep chatting, Sara. I have one more thing I just want to talk to you about is with this broader issue of food waste. I don't know, many folks probably know this, that you do a lot of work with the United Nations. And that's how we really did some things together last year where you basically went before the United Nations and talked a little bit about how food waste and the food waste issue is such a critical thing. If we're going to feed 10 billion people on the planet, we really need to reduce this amount of food waste we have, the 40% or so that we throw out. When crisis hits like this,
also we don't need to produce so much. This is another question that maybe we have to pose these days.
There's two things that I think about with regards to COVID and food waste. Is obviously in the near term, there's a lot of food that maybe just could be going to waste because the supply system, the food system was shocked. There's food in restaurant refrigerators that may not actually reach people. So people had quickly had to recalibrate their delivery systems and maybe how they touch consumers. So that's a kind of interesting conversation. And then more broadly, though, also I think I wonder about the values-based systems in a perfect world when everything's humming perfectly. It's almost a luxury to a lot of people to think about the broader concerns, but people tend to get in survival mode and they don't think about things like food waste or waste reduction as much when they're just thinking about making sure they're fed. So I'm just wondering do you see a shock to maybe some of the efforts that you've been seeing in terms of food waste reduction with COVID, and how do we get back on track?
I think we are all in a learning process. So of course, I want to take the first 2 weeks or the first week where we were all shocked. But now after 6 weeks, this is our new normal. This is not something temporary. I'm managing that as my new normal. And I started seeing day after day. Me too. I'm aware. I'm talking about that all day long. I study that. I care about that. I started really reducing dramatically my waste. You're home, you're eating here, eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You preserve, you pickle, you manage your fridge in a different way, and also you buy food in a different way. And so, from the consumer perspective, I think we are all in a learning process, and we are learning finally by doing. We knew those numbers since decades. We read those numbers in every newspaper, but now we have the time to take care of that, and we see that we can actually create also something good out of something that the day before we would have been wasted. That from the consumer perspective. What we see at the large scale is for the production area. There are so many efforts that at least in Italy our ministry is doing to try to save all the food that cannot be harvested or cannot be sold in the market. So turning that in different kind of products and delivering this food to all the associations that are supporting uh, homeless or say people with disadvantages. And now, actually, week after week, what we're seeing is that actually there are people and parents that sometimes cannot afford just one meal per day, and the other meal generally is provided by the school. So there are many more families now that week after week are facing that they cannot afford to feed the family. And so now there is an entire network of donors and people that now are helping really on that side.
That's fantastic. So it sounds like what you're saying is like everywhere along the food system and touching the consumer, like everyone's trying to figure out how to get fed. People are trying to figure out this new normal in a way. You also mentioned this idea of like students who normally get fed through the school system are also trying to figure out how to get food. And I think that's an interesting aspect like of society now. And what happens when kids aren't going to school? And that's one of the things we've had to figure out locally. I think we're seeing this all over the US and certainly around the world. So I think I want to basically just ask you your closing thoughts, any kind of final takeaways or any kind of words of encouragement you would give to folks as we navigate this kind of new landscape, any kind of tips that you would have for someone who maybe operates a restaurant or is a food innovator and like maybe wanted to launch a product, but now has to kind of say, hey, the world's completely different. Any kind of final words of encouragement or thoughts?
I don't know. It's a storm of thoughts this week, actually. What I'm thinking is about the thousands of startups that we have been meeting in this year. The world of food tech has been growing like crazy, let's say, at least in the last 6, 7 years a lot. And now more than ever, I'm thinking about which are the essential technologies within them. And within the thousands of startups, probably there are some that now are highlighting their importance. And probably now we need to support them and try to understand really where to focus energies. Because food is essential. And we work in the sector that is connecting everyone, is the first need, is so strictly connected with our culture, with our identity, the way to take care of the community. And so we need really to focus on supporting the kind of technologies that can better our food system. And we have a huge opportunity. We are resetting our mindset. We are reconnecting together more than everyone else. And we have the chance to restart.
Well, great. Well, as you know, sir, I'm a big fan of all that you do. I think everyone appreciates the work that the Future Food Institute does, and it seems like half the people in the audience have met you in some way. So we appreciate that. We had a little bit of audio issues today, so I want to apologize to everyone. Like I said, we're figuring. We're figuring out Crowdcast. So everyone, we were going to wrap up this session. We'll be back in about 25 minutes with Mark Brand and Robert Ager, and we'll have a conversation from a couple of operator perspectives on what they're doing and what they're doing with the community to keep going during COVID. So Sara, thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, guys, we'll talk to you soon. Bye.